What we're going to talk about in this video is why you're generally weaker at the bottom of a lift. Think of the bottom of the bench press or the bottom of a squat than you are at the top of the movement where you're the strongest. Now there are a couple reasons. Some of them have to do with leverages, but one of them has to do with the way that the muscle actually works. So what I've done here is sketched out just a little quad, and what I want you to see is that your muscle is actually composed of two different types of fibers. So one of them is this myosin and one of them is this actin fiber. And there's millions of these and they pull towards a common center, and those centers are all over the place. But for a simplified view, let's just say they're pulling towards this common center that is right here in the middle of the muscle. Now, when they're at rest, these generally cross-link very well, and you'll understand this more as we go further through this video. But what you can see here is on this side, I've shown when the knee is actually bent, like you are at the bottom of a squat, the leg is flexed. You see that as it stretches the myosin fiber in this direction. This goes in all directions. Let's just do this for demonstration. It stretches the myosin fiber toward this side and the actin fiber toward this side. And what they're trying to do is both pull each other toward this common center. And that's what flexes the muscle. But you'll notice that right here is the only area where they're cross-linking. So how does this make you weaker at the bottom? How does this lack of cross-linking make you weaker? Well, let's use an example of people pulling on a rope. So let's imagine that these guys here are the actin and that this is the myosin strand, and they're trying to pull on this toward some common center. Of course, their feet are going to be planted in this make-believe example. This is not really going on in your body, but when it starts and you're at rest, as you're pulling, everybody will be able to give their full power. But then as they stop cross-linking, now this guy can't help, this guy can't help, and toward the end, you have minimal help, and it's only from this guy. And so let's zoom back in, and we're going to kind of just make that example a little more clear. We want to imagine that on this strand, these are all the guys pulling toward that common center to shorten the muscle. But we can see, again, that only these guys can help. And if you watched the last video I made, you'll see a little bit about the chemical reaction that happens. It's not extremely important to know about that, but know that this is where that fuel is being burnt. This is the fuel to create ATP, which allows this reaction that allows these strands to pull on this strand towards some common center. And that's where the muscle is not stretched as it is on this side, but will be flexed as it is here. Or this is more of a resting. As it starts to flex, they start to not overlap in the opposite direction. So you would see the actin go over there and the myosin go over there as they start to overlap in the other direction. Like I said, this is only a very brief example. It's not this is not what it looks like in your body, but it gives you the general idea. So I hope that is interesting and informative, and just know that this is the same for any muscle groups. The bottom of your bench press where the pecs are stretched, the bottom of a deadlift where your hamstrings and your glutes are stretched. And of course, even in the squat, many other muscles are stretched aside from just your quads.